So you're like one of the most based conservatives, I would say. Like you're one of the only ones that call out like conservative feminism.
Hmm.
Did you notice that from the time you were like young, or is that something you kind of woke up to in the last
Oh,
few
I've seen
years?
it. I've seen it from day one in this industry. I mean, even my early or very early debates with women who were supposed conservatives, it was like that, where we were going back and forth and be like, you sound a lot more like a feminist than you do, a
Right.
right-wing Christian conservative or even a right-winger at all. So, I mean, all the way back in the early days of the Crucible, we were basically doing battle with the evil women of the internet, and there's many of them.
How was debating Tommy Lauren?
Well, she's insufferable,
Yeah.
and she's also very deep voice on Tommy Lauren, right? Very masculine traits on her, but also, like many of these conservative commentators, I really don't understand the female conservative commentator sphere because they're really, really fucking stupid. And I'm like, how is it that you keep getting brought on TV and then you realize, oh, I see. It's because they think that men want to have sex with you. And so they present you as, a package where you say right wing thing plus
Right.
man want fuck. And then bam, we make money. So once you realize that that's what the formula is, it's like, okay, that makes more sense because they are really stupid. And it's like, it's no wonder you don't see female conservatives in the debate sphere with feminists because they would just get destroyed. The feminists would just mangle them because they're so fucking stupid. I mean, just ridiculously stupid.
Yeah, I think there was a point in that debate where you said, oh, I can't remember what you said. I just remember her face, and it was just
Oh yeah,
like
ask
she
what
had.
duties women have.
Oh, that
Yeah.
was it. It was so.
I was like, what are duties that women have towards men? And she was like, well, I just think that men naturally want to provide for women. I'm like, so wait, so you think that I want to get you nice shit just to watch you have it? Like that's what you're saying? Great. Well, that's fantastic. Every man on earth wants to sign up for that. And then if you say that to them, like, well, you're not a real man.
Right.
A real man will buy me nice shit and then just watch how happy I am when I get it.
Yeah.
That's what real men do.
Yeah.
They're wild. These women are wild and out, especially on the conservative side. In fact, a lot of the feminists, the outright outspoken feminists, act more conservative in their relationships with men than the conservative women do.
Yeah.
Significantly more submissive than the conservative counterparts, which is just insane to me.
I know. I saw you on whatever, and you're one of the few people that say that there's no difference between conservative and liberal women. Like you hear Charlie Kirk, and he'll say like, a woman's political opinions matter. And I don't know what you found on whatever, but when I was doing interviews, I didn't really see a difference. I was like, you can just reprogram her after you.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's always going to be individuals who
Right.
have good political takes who are women. Like that's the case. But you generally speaking, it's like a general statement. It is true that you can't put a piece of paper between conservative female commentators and feminist female commentators. Like it's a piece of paper between them. And that's what I found too. And when I'm debating them, they always use the same talking points and instantly, it's really fun to watch. If you get two conservative females on a panel and there's like 4 liberal females and you start tangling up with both sides and you watch the sisterhood form instantly, right? Suddenly they're not conservatives or women or liberals, right? They're women and you're an evil, oppressive, patriarchal, lunatic man, right? Instantly all of the political divide gone.
I saw that with Nala. That was crazy. All of the, oh my gosh, Michael Knoll. Have you debated him yet?
He won't debate.
Oh,
I've asked multiple times, requested it multiple times live, and I know that Brian Whatever's requested it multiple times. The guy won't debate.
yeah.
It's really funny for the guy who always gets a lot of shit. They're like, you only debate 304s. I'm like, if the roster of men that I've debated is massive, right? The roster of men most of my critics has debated zero. So it's like, I'm just equal about it, right? I don't care if you're a fucking idiot who's a guy or a girl, right? Both of you.
You're an equal opportunist.
Equal opportunist when it comes to that. So With Knowles, though, yeah, I would be happy to. Him, all of those guys on the Daily Wire, I was always happy to tango, especially Clavin. After I saw the Clavin interview you did, I was like, oh, man, I want to tear into Clavin so bad on this because they're just clueless. They have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, what are your biggest disagreements with them? Like, what would you...
If I were to take, like, the Daily Wire and TPUSA and all of them?
If you were gonna do you versus, like, 10 of them, what would be, like, the points you brought up?
Well, the first thing I would do is I would say, like, you guys publicly lie a lot about the idea of women in your organizations, because when I talk to the TPUSA people on the ground privately who are at universities, organizers, things like that, they're like, Andrew, I totally agree with everything you're saying. These women are completely predatory. They're a big problem to have in our organization. You know what I mean? I wish more people would tangle up with them. They know it's an issue. They just pretend it's not. And why? It's because they want a groundswell of support from conservative women. That's what they're after, right? The problem is they're not actually speaking to real conservative women's issues. And real conservative women's issues are not, it's not about these stupid idea of baking bread and wearing a fucking sundress. And that's what it's become. So, you know, the first thing I would dive into is like, well, what are the women's issues between the left and the right, that you find makes the woman a right winger or a left winger? What are these actual issues? Where's the divide here? I don't think they'd give me an answer. I don't think they could actually give me an answer. I think that they would end up saying a bunch of social issues that were all left-wing based. All of them.
And conservatives are even trying to fund IVF now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so crazy. I'll see Candace Owens tweeting about how, like, the Gardasil shot is making women infertile.
Yeah, I saw that
and
tweet.
I'm like, I don't know. I think it might just be women having kids older.
Yeah.
And
It's not
also
hard.
getting too many STDs also makes you...
Yeah, it's not hard, but the
I'm
thing
like,
is...
when 1 out of 3 women had an STD, like... And
Why
we all know it's higher, right? If we're admitting to 1 out of 3, it's half.
Yeah, but Pearl, here's a bitter one. Why would conservative men advocate that women go to college knowing that it's like the most degenerate institute they could ever send women?
Yeah.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. What goes on at college? A bunch of conservative stuff or a bunch of having sex, drinking, drugs, promiscuity? That's what goes on. That's what college is famous for. It's not famous for rolling out highly educated women, that's for sure. It's definitely famous for rolling out progressive women who had very highly promiscuous histories in college. It's like, why would conservatives be advocating for that? No, we need an educated populace. Send all of our reproducing age women to a den of literal degeneracy. That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. And I've never heard any of them get put to that question ever once. Like, why do you think that's a good idea? They have no idea. They have no, like, why are you advocating for that? It's dumb. It's just like when Lauren Chen was, she was advocating
that was the best.
advocating for secular marriage. I'm like, why?
Advocating for what?
Secular marriage. I'm like, why would you advocate for secular marriage? What's the point of that? She was like, actually, now that I think about it, I don't really know what the point of that is.
She disappeared. Thank you for the super chat. It says, keep up the good work. Thank you, guys. That was a hilarious debate. She was like spurging out.
Yeah, Jen. Yeah.
All my enemies take down themselves.
Yeah, there was what's really funny, what I noticed is that all those people who went after Crowder on the divorce thing,
crickets.
They all took themselves out. Like within a year of that, they all started just one by one taking themselves out. All the ones who, and so I'm like kind of waiting for the Candace fall too, because she went pretty hard. That was when I was like, people in my chat ask me all the time, like, do you support Candace Owens? Nope. Say why? And I was like, when this guy was getting divorced, we all knew he's under gag order. He couldn't say shit. He couldn't say anything to anybody, right? And that's when they hit him. When he couldn't defend himself. It was like the worst cowardly, weaselly way to attack. And she was right there. And still is. She doubles down on it, right? She doubles down. Oh, he's an abuser. Shut up. He's an abuser.
He talked to his wife in a bad way. Bitch, are you going to tell your husband how he's allowed to talk to you? Shut the fuck up.
Well, and you don't know what what critical context is behind that. Like, what if she had been a bitch for 36 hours before, and he finally lost his mind for 5 seconds, but that's what's filmed.
Right.
Like, you don't even, these people didn't even have the context. They were looking to bump him off and kind of jockey themselves into a little position there is what they were looking for.
No, well, that's the thing with her. I really used to be a fan of her, but I'm like, she's the same. Like, the Crowder thing was so disappointing for me because I watched all of, like, because I feel like I came at this from a viewer and I just watched all the conservatives that I thought I really liked just pile on top of this guy who, like, what did he do? He raised his voice at his wife. That was it. Really? Like, none of you have raised your voices in your own home ever? All of your fights, you look like an angel, really? And I'm like, if you were really, like, now she's grifting Catholicism, and I'm like, if you really meant the Catholicism stuff, like, you would have a retraction, an apology, and you wouldn't be telling a guy how to run his house.
It's also fine to change.
It's bigger now. The grift Lord is here.
Yes, the grift is here. You must send super chat for the grift. So, yeah, send it. The other thing is like, you know what? What about this? You could also just be like, you know what? I was wrong. I was wrong and called it wrong. And you know what, Steven? Sorry about that. You can just do that too.
He's so nice.
Like the guy would probably be like, you know what? No problem. You know what I mean? But they don't even do that. They don't, now a lot of that stuff is public, right? And they still won't do it. And it's like, well, you know, Candace, all goodwill I might have had towards her the second that happened, right?
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah. So what would be your next point with them? So the first part would be about college. And
yeah,
like,
well, I will no, the first point would
yeah.
be to ask what the distinctions, what they would consider the actual distinctions between the behaviors of conservative and liberal progressive women. What are they? I don't think they could give me many. The second would be to ask why they send them to these dens of inequity when they know that that's a terrible idea. And the third is why it is that they refuse to engage in any of the points of the red pill in order to either A, refute them, right? Or B, adopt them, but give a Christian prescription correct for what it is, or, you know, C, just like blow them all out, right? You have to either offer the refutation at some point, or you're going to get dominated by the ideology. And these are supposed to be Christian conservative commentators. The only one I've ever seen in the red pill doing battle with these guys is fucking me. I've never seen anybody else doing it. And the thing that's so funny is, even though I fight with red pill guys constantly, I'm constantly debating with them. I get associated with the red pill because I won't take any shit from these feminist women.
That was going to be my next question. If you consider yourself red pilled at all?
I think that descriptors from red pillars are often fine. Like descriptions of what's going on is fine. I think that most of the time they come out with prescriptors, they're terrible and stupid and kind of retarded. So like when guys are saying, you know, sleep with multitudes of women to like experience a level up, I think that that's dumb. I think if they're saying things like...
Do you think it works though?
No, it doesn't work.
You don't think women treat men
Who
better?
has access to that? Like this teeny tiny percentage of men, how's that going to help men in general?
Well, I'm not talking about men in general. I'm talking about like individual men. Like if they're trying it and coming back and saying that this helped them in their life, like you can't really argue with that.
Yeah, but I mean, you could say the same thing with heroin. You could say the same thing with crack, cocaine, whatever you wanted. You know, I tried cocaine. It helped me in this portion of my life. It's like I still wouldn't give it as a prescription for people to do. You know, like
Yeah, but
when I was really down and out, here's an easy one. When I was really down and out after a breakup, I would drink way too much. That doesn't mean I would give that out as a prescription that men drink way too much after a breakup.
yeah, but I don't really see it as like they're telling men what to do. I just think it's more like if you want to do this, this is how to do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
but that
so-
would, again, be a descriptor instead of a prescription. It's the guys who give it as a prescription. Or the pickup dating artist community does this a lot.
Yeah, like live how I live.
Yeah, here's the various prescriptions or what society should be doing or things like this. That's where they run afoul. But a lot, and you got to take some of the descriptors with a grain of salt too. They're not always true. The pair bonding studies aren't always true. There's lots of stuff you got to be careful about.